Have you ever told yourself, "I'll try tomorrow," and then tomorrow never came? Do you feel stuck, waiting for motivation, clarity, or the perfect moment to act? What if the key to self-improvement wasn't about trying harder, but about stopping the try altogether? If you're someone seeking clarity, purpose, and strength, this message is for you. Welcome to a new way of thinking. Welcome to action. Before we dive in, take a second to subscribe to the channel. If this resonates with you, you'll want to be here for every lesson. Let's take the first step right now. 1. Don't try. Marcus Aurelius wasn't interested in excuses, neither were Epictetus or Seneca. To the Stoics, talk was cheap, and intention meant little unless backed by direct action. What mattered wasn't what you planned to do tomorrow, but what you did today. The phrase, "I'll try," held no weight in Stoic philosophy. It was a veil, a stall tactic, a polite way of saying, "I don't really want to do it," or "I'm not committed enough." Trying implies doubt. It leaves room for escape before you've even begun. When someone says, "I'll try to eat better," they're hedging. When they say, "I'll try to wake up early," they're already negotiating with their resistance. The Stoics saw this for what it was, hesitation dressed up as effort. Think of your own life. How often have you said, "I'll try," and nothing changed? You tried to write the book, start the business, change the habit, but trying wasn't enough, because trying isn't doing. It's standing at the edge of the pool saying, "I might jump in," while the clock ticks and the sun sets. The Stoic approach is binary. You either act or you don't. There's no halfway. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Not try to do. Do. Full stop. This mindset doesn't leave much room for excuses. It removes the crutches we lean on when we're scared or unmotivated. And that's a good thing, because it forces us to confront the truth. Most people aren't lacking time or resources, they're lacking resolve. Doing means accepting the discomfort that comes with effort. It means showing up even when you don't feel like it. The Stoics understood that waiting for perfect conditions is a trap. There is no ideal time, no ideal mood. Action, not preparation, reveals character, and doing doesn't mean you won't fail. In fact, Stoics knew failure was inevitable sometimes, but failure after action is noble. It's meaningful. It teaches. Failing to try, on the other hand, is a quiet death. You learn nothing from hesitation except how to become more hesitant. So, if you want to improve your life, your habits, your mindset, your relationships, ditch the language of trying. Replace it with doing. Instead of, "I'll try to go for a run," say, "I'm going for a run." Instead of, "I'll try to be more patient," say, "I will act patiently." This linguistic shift reprograms your mind toward execution, not evasion. The ancient Stoics didn't just preach this, they lived it. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire in chaos. Epictetus endured slavery and exile. Seneca navigated the treacherous politics of Nero's court. Yet none of them waited for an easier time to act. They simply acted. They embraced reality, took responsibility, and moved forward with purpose. So don't try, do. Your life is a mirror of your actions, not your intentions. 2. You don't need to feel ready. One of the most persistent myths we tell ourselves is that we must feel ready before we can begin. We say, "Once I'm more confident, I'll speak up." Or, "Once I've learned more, I'll start that project." Readiness becomes the excuse, the delay, the silent killer of potential. The Stoics saw readiness not as a prerequisite for action, but as a byproduct of it. In other words, you don't become confident by waiting. You become confident by acting while unsure. Clarity doesn't come before movement, it comes after. When you take a step forward, the fog begins to clear. You gain insight. You build resilience. You learn. In modern life, we're inundated with the idea that everything must feel right before we begin. Social media tells us to wait for motivation. Self-help books preach planning and preparation, but too much planning becomes procrastination. Too much waiting becomes stagnation. The Stoic answer? Start now. Even if you're uncertain, even if you're afraid. Especially then. Epictetus said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" It's a cutting question, because deep down, we already know the answer. Most of us wait because it's easier. It's safe. We don't risk failure or embarrassment if we never begin, but that safety is an illusion. The real risk is in doing nothing. You don't need to feel ready to begin improving your health. You don't need to feel ready to mend a relationship, leave a toxic job, or face a fear. You just need to begin. The act of starting builds momentum, and momentum is what carries you forward. Seneca reminds us, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Waiting to feel ready often makes the task harder. It allows fear to fester and self-doubt to grow. Action starves fear. Inaction feeds it. So stop waiting. The stars will never align perfectly. There will always be reasons to hesitate. But none of those reasons are more powerful than the decision to act anyway. When you feel nervous, act. When you feel unsure, act. When you feel overwhelmed, take one small step. That's all you need to gain ground. The Stoics weren't superhuman. They just practiced courage. And courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to move forward in spite of it. So no, you don't need to feel ready, you just need to begin. 3. Discipline over emotion. Life is emotional. There's no escaping that. We feel fear, joy, frustration, doubt, and exhaustion. But the Stoics believe that while emotions are natural, they should never rule us. Emotion is data, not a directive. You can feel anger, but you don't need to act on it. You can feel tired, but you can still show up. You can feel nervous, but still speak the truth. This is the essence of discipline. Doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. Modern culture often places feelings on a pedestal. Do what feels right. Trust your gut. But the Stoics knew that feelings are fleeting. They change with the wind. One moment you're motivated, the next you're full of doubt. If you wait until you feel perfect, you'll never move. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It's built on principles, not moods. It's showing up to the gym when you don't want to. It's keeping your word when it's inconvenient. It's holding your tongue when anger surges. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the Stoic secret. You don't control what you feel, but you do control what you do next. Discipline doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means mastering them. It means acknowledging their presence without letting them lead the way. The Stoics trained themselves daily to respond, not react. They rehearsed hardship so they could endure difficulty without collapse. They focused on effort, not outcome. This mindset creates strength. It breeds consistency. Anyone can act when they feel like it, but real power lies in acting regardless. That's when transformation happens. That's when you shift from being a slave to your emotions to becoming the master of your life. So when emotions rise, take a breath. Return to your principles. Choose discipline, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are becoming. 4. Drama is a distraction. Modern life is loud. Social media encourages us to narrate our struggles. We glorify the grind. We post about the hustle, the late nights, the no days off mindset. But beneath all that noise, we often forget to Do the work itself. The Stoics weren't interested in performance. They didn't posture or seek applause. They sought progress, quiet, steady, uncelebrated. Seneca wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The message is simple. Stop performing and start doing. Drama is seductive. It makes us feel like we're making progress when we're not. Talking about your plans feels productive, but it isn't the same as executing them. Complaining feels like catharsis, but it doesn't solve anything. The Stoics prized stillness over spectacle. They knew that the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. The strongest person is the one who acts without needing validation. You don't need to post about your discipline, just be disciplined. You don't need to tweet your hardship, just endure it. Let others chase likes. You chase mastery. In a world obsessed with appearance, the Stoics remind us that virtue lives in silence, in consistency, in showing up every day without needing credit. Let your results speak. Let your actions whisper. Let your life be the proof. Drama is a distraction. Action is the answer. 5. Live with urgency. Time is not just money, it's everything. Once a moment is gone, it cannot be reclaimed, bought, or bargained for. And yet, how casually we let it slip through our fingers. We check our phones, we scroll endlessly. We say, "I'll do it tomorrow." But tomorrow is not promised. The Stoics, especially figures like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, were deeply concerned with how we treat time. Seneca wrote that it's not that life is short, but that we waste so much of it. And in that waste lies a dangerous presumption that we will have more. Procrastination is not just laziness, it is in many ways a quiet arrogance. When we delay action, we assume that our future selves will have both the time and energy to do what we are avoiding today. We push our dreams, our apologies, our transformations into the mist of someday. But what if there is no someday? What if this very moment is the only one guaranteed to us? Wouldn't that make every second sacred? Living with urgency does not mean panic. It does not mean rushing through life or sprinting without pause. Rather, it means recognizing the value of the present moment and treating it with the seriousness it deserves. To the Stoic, each day is a complete life. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." It's a call to clarity, to cut through the noise and act with purpose. There is freedom in this mindset. When we truly realize that time is short, we stop caring about trivial distractions. Petty arguments, shallow comparisons, and imagined fears lose their hold over us. We become more honest in our relationships, more courageous in our choices, and more grateful for what we have. The stakes are higher, and because of that, we play more sincerely. To live with urgency is to live intentionally. It means asking, what matters most to me? What legacy am I leaving behind in each conversation, each task, each silent decision no one sees? It means moving from the passive, "I'll get to it eventually," to the active, "I must do it now." This urgency applies not just to goals but to virtue itself. The Stoics believed in living rightly, not later but now. Epictetus reminded us, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That demand is not for perfection but for sincerity. We don't know how much time we have left, but we do know we have now. And that is enough to change everything. So ask yourself, if today were your last day, would you be proud of how you lived it? If not, why wait to change? Live today like it matters, because it does, and because it might be the only one you have left to make a difference. 6. Virtue requires action. The Stoics believed that virtue was the highest good, and that it wasn't something you merely talked about or believed in, but something you lived. Virtue is not a thought experiment. It's not found in endless debates or complex theories. It's made real through the choices we make and the actions we take. To be just, you must act justly. It's not enough to believe in fairness if you're unwilling to confront injustice when it appears. It's not enough to say you support the truth if you remain silent when lies are spreading. Justice demands courage, and courage demands risk. In a world full of compromise, standing firm on principle is never easy, but it is necessary. To be brave, you must take the risk. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite fear. It is the voice that says, "I am scared, but I will move forward anyway." Whether you're facing personal hardship, standing up for someone else, or making a difficult decision, bravery is proven only in the moment of action. You can't think your way into courage. You must live your way into it. To be wise, you must choose the better path. Wisdom is not about hoarding knowledge. It's about discernment, the ability to judge what truly matters and act accordingly. Wisdom sees the consequences of our decisions, recognizes our own flaws, and chooses humility over pride. It understands that right action is better than clever words, and it shows up in everything from how we treat others to how we manage our own impulses. The Stoics were not concerned with appearances. They didn't care how things looked. They cared about how things were. Every choice you make reflects your character. Every moment is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Are you generous or selfish? Are you honest or evasive? Are you disciplined or indulgent? Your answers are not written in what you say, but in what you do. Virtue requires effort. It demands that you choose integrity when shortcuts are easier. It requires that you forgive when vengeance would feel more satisfying. It calls you to rise above your lower nature and strive toward your higher self. And it's a journey without end. No one becomes perfectly virtuous, but each day offers the chance to come closer. So, what are you choosing today? In your conversations, your habits, your challenges, what virtues are you living out? The world doesn't need more opinions. It needs more people who live their values. Be one of them. 7. Words mean nothing without action. Words have power, but only when they are backed by action. You can quote Marcus Aurelius, you can post inspiring content online, you can memorize Stoic principles and recite them flawlessly. But if those words don't shape your behavior, what do they mean? Talk is cheap. Anyone can sound wise. It costs nothing to say the right thing. But Stoicism is not a performance, it's a practice. It's not about how you look when things are calm, it's about how you act when things fall apart. Do you stay calm when insulted? Do you remain disciplined when no one is watching? Do you honor your commitments even when they're no longer convenient? That's Stoicism in motion. That's philosophy made real. Too often we use words as a substitute for growth. We talk about change instead of making it. We plan instead of acting. We consume motivation but avoid discomfort. But Stoicism is not an academic pursuit. It is a call to live rightly no matter how difficult it is. Seneca warned us against people who praise virtue but do not practice it. It's easy to admire the ideal. It's much harder to embody it. But your actions are your true message to the world. Your life is the real proof of your beliefs. Do you want to be remembered as someone who knew the right thing, or someone who lived it? Let your actions be your philosophy. Let your responses to adversity be your true quote. Let your daily habits speak louder than any post or proclamation. That doesn't mean you won't fail. It doesn't mean you'll always get it right, but it does mean you try, earnestly, consistently, humbly. Each day, you have a chance to align your behavior with your values, not through speeches, but through discipline, not by pointing fingers, but by leading through example. When people look at your life, will they see wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? Or will they just see nice-sounding words with no foundation? The Stoic path is clear, but it is not easy. It requires effort, humility, and relentless self-examination. But it also offers the reward of a life lived with integrity, a life that means something. So step beyond the quotes and into the fire. Let your life be your message. 8. Decide, then move. Hesitation is the breeding ground for regret. In that small pause between thought and action, between intention and motion, fear plants its roots. You second-guess yourself. You worry about failure. You ask, what if I make the wrong choice? But the Stoics understood that life is not about avoiding all mistakes. It's about moving with intention, about facing the unknown with clarity and courage. Decisiveness isn't about reckless action. It's not about storming ahead with no plan or awareness. True decisiveness is calm. It is measured. It says, this is the best choice I can make with what I know right now. And then it acts. It moves. In Marcus Aurelius's meditations, he often reminds himself not to be distracted by trifles, not to overthink the path before him. His clarity came not from knowing every outcome, but from knowing that stillness, when it becomes delay, leads to stagnation, and stagnation leads to regret. How many times have we waited too long? How many dreams have we let die because we waited for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect certainty? There is no perfect. The Stoics understood that perfection is a fantasy. Life is messy, outcomes are uncertain, and action must be taken anyway. Decide, then move. Movement itself is a teacher. When you act, you gain clarity. You see what works and what doesn't. You learn, adapt, refine. But if you never act, if you stay trapped in the realm of what if, you never grow. Epictetus put it simply, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide who you are, then act like it. Fear disguises itself as prudence. It whispers, wait a little longer. It says, you need more information. But often, this is just the voice of hesitation trying to wear a reasonable mask. There is wisdom in planning, yes, but once the moment arrives, courage must take the wheel. To decide is to declare to yourself and to the world, I am not a passive observer of my life. I am an active participant. I will shape it. I will stumble. I will fall. But I will not sit on the sidelines. Take a breath. Choose your direction and move. You can adjust course along the way. You can pause and reflect. But don't mistake endless planning for progress. Progress is measured in motion, in steps taken, in things attempted, in lessons learned. The Stoics were not rigid. They were resolute. They knew that the path to virtue was walked, not theorized. That action reveals who we are more than words or thoughts. So don't wait for the stars to align. Decide, then move, and refine as you go. 9. Fall, rise, repeat. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. That's one of the most liberating truths that Stoicism offers us. The Stoics knew we would fail. They knew we would fall short of our ideals, give in to distractions, lose our temper, or slip back into old habits. But they also knew that what defines us is not whether we fall, but how we rise. You will stumble. That is not a question of if, but when. You will say something you regret. You will miss a workout. You will waste a day scrolling instead of creating. The modern world tempts us constantly, but Stoicism teaches us that moment of failure is not the end, it's a beginning. Start again, without drama. There's no need to turn a misstep into a tragedy. You don't need to spiral into shame or tell yourself a story about how you always mess things up. That story, the one where you're a failure, where you're broken, where you never change, that's not Stoic. That's ego. Stoicism is a return to simplicity. It says, you fell, get up, try again. No judgment, no narrative, just the next right step. This mindset is powerfully freeing. It removes the weight of guilt and replaces it with responsibility. Not blame, not shame, just responsibility. You are the author of your actions. When one chapter doesn't go as planned, you don't tear out the pages. You turn the page and begin anew. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Every moment is a reset. Every sunrise is a new beginning. You don't need to wait for a Monday or a new month. The next breath is enough. Fall, rise, repeat." Discipline is not about being perfect every day. It's about showing up even after the worst day, especially after the worst day. It's about brushing off the dust and saying, I'm still here, I'm still trying. And trying matters. Trying with integrity builds momentum. When you live this way long enough, the dips become shorter, the rebounds become quicker. Failure loses its sting because you know you'll get up. So let go of the shame, let go of the drama, take the lesson, leave the rest, and take that next step with quiet strength. Fall, rise, repeat. That's the Stoic rhythm of life. 10. One step at a time. Transformation is not one grand gesture. It is not a dramatic speech, a single day of motivation, or a sweeping life change made in a burst of inspiration. True transformation happens slowly, quietly, consistently. One step at a time. It happens when you wake up and choose to get out of bed, even when you don't feel like it. When you choose to sit down and work, even though no one is watching. When you say no to the things that waste your time, and yes to the small, often unglamorous actions that lead to growth. In the Stoic tradition, virtue is the goal. To live a good life, a life of wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. But how do you live with virtue? By showing up, by doing what's right, not what's easy. By keeping your promises to others, but especially to yourself. One moment at a time. Seneca reminds us that life is long if you know how to use it. That means living intentionally. It means treating each day as a brick in the foundation of who you are becoming. Not every brick will be perfect, but if you lay them with care, over time, the structure will rise. Don't try. Do. Trying leaves a back door open. Doing commits you. The Stoics didn't make excuses. They didn't wait for ideal conditions. They lived according to nature, according to reason, according to virtue. Start where you are, not where you wish you were, not where someone else is. Begin from this moment with your current resources, energy, and understanding. That's enough. Then act. Not for applause, not for validation, but because the action itself is right. Because you are building a life of meaning. Because each small decision is a vote for the person you want to become. The choice to take a walk instead of staying on the couch. The decision to meditate instead of scrolling. The practice of writing down what you're grateful for instead of complaining. These are small, but they add up, and over time they change everything. So let go of the pressure to make it all happen at once. Focus on the step in front of you. The present moment is where your power lies. One step at a time. That's how the Stoics lived, and that's how you will become who you are meant to be. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You just need to take the next step. So what will you do right now? If this message spoke to you, hit that subscribe button, share this with someone who's ready to stop trying, and start living, because your future doesn't wait. And neither should you.